Welcome back to Glamour Unfiltered, hosted by me, Josh Smith. And today we are joined by the queen of girl power. It's Mel C!
Hello, my darling. How are you?
I'm so good. All the better for seeing you, Obs.
Oh, do you know what? It is so lovely, isn't it? That obviously we're all quite far away from each other and isolated, but to have this connection, to like see faces, have a chat, have a catch up, it gets you through the day, doesn't it?
Oh God, it's like the only thing getting me through, hun. That like little bit of social connection, you know? Because how are you dealing with your own mind in this situation?
This is such a difficult situation. You know, there's so many people going through some really challenging times. And, you know, I think everyone's situation has its own challenges. You know, I have my family here and trying to get the children to do work and to exercise and get myself to exercise. I'm having this constant dialogue in my mind, and I want to try and get some benefits from the slowdown, because even though it's busy, you have no choice but to slow down and to sit with yourself and your thoughts.
You've been on such a journey. The word journey doesn't even really, I think, do justice to how much stuff you've been through, how it's all had to happen in the public eye. And I mean, you've been famous for like decades. Like, that is just such a nuts thing to have to comprehend. Throughout your career, how has your relationship with your own mind changed and how has it altered?
I'm definitely a lot kinder to myself, which I think everybody needs to be more. You know, as a young person, I think I was searching for who I was, who I wanted to be. Then I was being bombarded with who people thought I was and who people expected me to be. And I found that really confusing. I never felt good enough. I think, like a lot of people, I experienced a lot of guilt as well. I felt guilty about my success. I felt guilty about earning money. I think that's when I kind of got into hot water, because I was trying to make myself worthy of all these things, when really, you know, we're all enough. We are actually enough. My daughter always laughs at me and says, "You're a perfectionist." And I say, well, I'm not a perfectionist, because there's no such thing. You know, I'm a failed perfectionist. There's no such thing as perfect.
Can you remember a time when you were literally try and really be this perfect image of yourself that you thought you wanted to be, but actually it wasn't even you? Is there a time you can recall where that was going through your head quite a lot?
Probably the early days in the band with the girls, you know, in the mid-90s. And it was, you know, there were lots of different events that led to this. But I think one of the big things was being in the public eye and reading about yourself in the tabloid media, because nothing prepares you for that. And when you're reading about yourself, and it's like reading about a stranger in the 90s, you know, before everybody had the internet and social media, it was very odd to read about yourself and think, who's that? And I think that's what, you know, wobbled me quite a lot.
Do you think as well, having this alter ego identity of Sporty Spice, which is literally just this insane label that got put on you almost, has that almost been like a blessing and a curse in a way?
Gosh, how long has it been? It's been a long time. My maths isn't good. Like you said, it's over 20 years. And I think there's been times in my life, I suppose in the early days, because I wasn't that sure who I was. And I thought Sporty Spice was something external to me. And when we did the stadium shows last year, and I had the opportunity to get back on stage with the girls and perform our songs again, which was just incredible. And what was interesting for me was, you know, for a few years, I've been thinking, how can I run around on stage to want to be? I'm in my 40s, I'm a mum, you know, it's ridiculous. But once I found myself in that situation, it was like second nature. And it made me realise that actually Sporty Spice isn't something, you know, I become, it's in me. And it was really lovely, and it just made me feel really reflective and just really be able to embrace every part of myself, even the shit bits.
Like, I guess as well, because you have to always live up to this sporty image, right? And then you've been through a whole journey with your body image as well. Did that pressure, you being the sporty one, throw your body image into a different filter that you didn't even expect?
I grew up dancing and doing gymnastics. And when I was a kid, I was so active and I never even thought about body image. And I went to performing arts college and I was actually quite close to some people with eating disorders. And I know a lot of dancers, a lot of people in that environment, you know, it's very difficult. Obviously, you're looking at yourself in the mirror all day. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure things are a little bit different now. And I know the modelling world is the same, but you're told to lose weight. You know, there's a certain way you're expected to look in that profession. And it never affected me. Like that was like through my late teens. And it wasn't until the Spice Girls, you know, really took off that I became very self-conscious about the way that I looked. And then that's when, you know, I was exercising obsessively and I wasn't eating properly and I lost a lot of weight and, you know, I was living in an unsustainable and unhealthy way for a couple of years.
How did you pull yourself out of that?
Oh gosh, it took a long time. I was in denial for a long time. You know, people did reach out within the band, in my family, but I was embarrassed and I didn't want to admit it. It was very obvious because I think, you know, when people have an eating disorder, it's a very visual thing. You know, it's obvious to look at somebody. It was obvious to look at me that I was underweight and people who were close to me could see I wasn't eating properly, but I wouldn't go there. It really took until my body made the decision for me. And I became very depressed around the millennium and I just couldn't cope. And so I ended up going to my GP and I was diagnosed with depression. And that was really my first step to recovery.
What do you think you learned about yourself in that time?
Well, you know, I look back over that time and you know, for many years I've been regretful about everything. And I'm sure there'll be people watching this who have had similar issues or are maybe going through it right now. And it's so overwhelming, you know, an eating disorder. It's like, it's all you think about. All you think about is what you've eaten or, you know, ways to avoid eating or avoiding social situations. And life is for living. You know, I used to be so sad that so many years I missed so many opportunities to have a great time and to really enjoy everything. And what I've learned from it is that I've been there, you know, and I've got better. I've recovered and I know the signs and I don't think I'm an authority on it and I absolutely would know how to deal with it, but at least I can have empathy, you know, with somebody in that situation and hopefully my experience can be helpful to other people.
If you could take the you that was going through that and they were on the screen right now, what would you want to say to that person?
I would say, don't be afraid. And there's help. One thing I do wish is that I got professional help earlier. And I think for, you know, people who have friends who they might be concerned about any mental health issues or people in their family, I think it's really hard. It's hard to broach it. It's hard to know what to do, what to say, how to deal with it. And my advice would always be get professional help. You know, and, you know, one of the great things about the internet is there are wonderful resources out there. You know, you can reach out, you can get information. And yeah, if I was talking to myself, I would say, don't be afraid. There is a much better life that you deserve and you should be living. So let's work together and make that happen.
That's such a powerful statement. Yes, Han.
Yeah. I feel a bit emotional.
But I also just think that we've got to let ourselves have those moments when we feel sad about the situation, because I think there's so much of the time, like, you strike me as a really positive person and you kind of want to be the positive person all the time, right? And then you're like, why am I not being positive right now? And you're like, like, that's
any people who live with me can hear you now, they'll be like, she is a positive person. I save it for you. Depression, you know, personally for me, it never really goes away. I've never found myself in such a dark place as I did when I was first diagnosed. I think because I didn't understand what was going on, there was other issues around it. I hadn't had any help. I didn't know how to deal with it. You know, mental health it's an ongoing thing. It's a work in progress. And so I have my ups and downs. And I think as a parent, there's two things. There's one, you don't want your child to see you down and upset. But then on the other hand, you know, it's good, I think, for children to see that their parents can be vulnerable.
I mean, there's so much power in being vulnerable and leaning into that vulnerability as well. Like, people don't realize that. And I think we spend this whole time trying to be like, we're empowered people. And it's like, but actually, when you think about what it means to be empowered, it's to be tapped into your emotions and how you deal with them. Because I guess for you as well, you are such a symbol of that term power, girl power. And then I guess for you the whole time, you're like, what is the downsides of always having to be empowered?
I was embarrassed. I felt like I'd failed everybody. You know, I was living this lie. But you're right. I think the thing about vulnerability is we all have it. All over the world, all these cultures, all these countries, you know, whatever what your status is, if you're a celebrity, you know, the amazing key workers that we're all looking at so completely differently now, is like, we are all the same, you know, we are all feeling the same feelings, we're all going through the same experience. I
guess when you came back to go back onto stage again last year as the Spice Girls, I mean, lost my absolute mind, babes, 2 times over when we saw it. But like, for you, what do you think the lessons you've learned from the first time out to that time out, what were those lessons and what did you learn in between that time?
The biggest lessons were to be more relaxed about everything. The girls make fun of me because, you know, I do have that perfectionist nature. And, you know, the beauty of the Spice Girls is we are a bit rough around the edges and we do go wrong. And that used to frustrate me because I wanted it to be amazing, you know? And I'd really relaxed and let go. And with this show, it was more fun because I wasn't so uptight.
Do you think as well, being in isolation right now, it makes you crave that experience again? Or does it make you more appreciative of what you've had?
A little bit of both, really. The shows were so incredible and we are constantly talking and we would love to do more. And at the time, it felt so magical and so special. It felt like we had to do more, you know? It was like, it's a crime not to. Yeah. So I hope and pray that we're able to at some point. Honestly, us getting our shit together, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, I keep putting this out into the universe. It's going to happen. We're going to do all these.
It's going to happen, babe. It's going to happen.
Spice Girls at Glasgow.
Do you feel like you've had to modify your relationship with success and that idea of success and failure? How's that changed for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, one of the things about being part of something which is an incredible success is that there's always so much to live up to. And you can't top the Spice Girls. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's just impossible. And I think, you know, it took a while to adjust to that as a solo artist. My first album, Northern Star, was really successful and, you know, I had an incredible time with that. But like all careers, you know, I've had my ups and downs. And definitely as I've got older and it just, yeah, I think this self-acceptance thing and you know, being a person who has suffered with depression, knowing that without happiness, nothing means anything, you know, so that really is the most important thing. And, you know, I love what I do and that's why I keep doing it. Sometimes people say, well, why do you, obviously you don't need to work. I'm like, yeah, well, I do. But also I bloody love it and I'd be lost without it. And I'm so excited about the new music. It's sounding great. I'm working with some incredible people and there's some bangers on this record.
Oh, yes, honey.
Oh, yes.
Well, babes, you are epic. I've always thought you're epic. Dude, love.
You are beyond epic.